Hey, what's up, cats and kittens? And shout out to all my cerebralites. It is me, the Cerebral Diva, and I'm back with another episode of RealiTEA, and that is TEA because I give it to you scalding hot. So grab your cups, grab your saucers, gather around, and let's all take a long sip of this Invite Only Cabo tea. All right, so before we talk about Invite Only Cabo, shout out or belated shout out to all the moms out there. Happy belated Mother's Day. I had a fantastic Mother's Day, by the way. I hope you did as well. And also a special shout out to all the single dads out there who have to be both mom and dad. We see you. So I just want to acknowledge the single dads who do the hard work too. Okay, so Invite Only Cabo. All right, so Bravo gifted us this show. I guess this is sort of their way of at least trying to keep some of the viewership that is garnered by Real Housewives of Atlanta by appealing to their specific demographic. So Invite Only Cabo is sort of this African American version of My Summer Share or Share House. I forget the exact title of this show on Bravo, but it's a very similar premise, only I believe they're what's the area in New York that people go to on the weekend? Montauk or the Hamptons. So it's basically sort of the Buppy-esque version, the Black urban professional version of Summer Share, Summer House, whatever that show is called. So basically you have one central character, and that character's name is Larry. Larry is a celebrity hairstylist, and that's underscored in the opening scene because you see him actually interacting with Gabrielle Union and talking about the sort of adventure that he's about to embark on with a group of his friends. Now, everyone in this cluster of friends is like the 1 degree of separation, and Larry is that 1 degree. So everyone knows Larry, but no one really in the group knows each other. I mean, I think casually some of them know each other, but no one really has a relationship with anyone other than Larry. So Larry decides to rent a house in Cabo, and everyone converges in this house, and calamity ensues. Now, one of the things I did not like about the shows is I don't, part of the reason why I don't watch Love and Hip Hop anymore is because the drama just seems artificial. It seems manufactured. I want drama to happen through happenstance. Let it occur organically. And maybe 5 minutes after being in the house, already we see sort of tension between two of the characters. Okay, so before I start talking about what the drama, let me tell you guys about the characters. So we have Larry, who's a stylist. We have Emily, who Larry works with quite often. She is sort of this milfish, socially inappropriate, token white girl, sort of the Kim Zolciak of the show. We have Bianca, who reminds me a lot of Hollywood exes, Cherie Zampino, Will Smith's ex-wife. If you look her up, to me, facially, they both look a lot alike to me. They remind me of each other for some reason. You have Jermaine, who is a brand expert and also a friend to Larry. You have Malak, who was in a boy band, and he said apparently they were supposed to be the male TLC at one point in time, both he, Larry, and another person. So you have Malak, who has history with Larry. You have Kamani, I guess she and Larry both used to dance for Missy Elliott, who's also in the house. And you have Agu, who's he's eye candy. So shout out to all the ladies and some of the fellas. Agu is definitely eye candy. So if nothing else, tune into the show just to see Agu, because not only is he attractive, but he likes to be naked, and he's someone that you probably wouldn't mind seeing naked. I will say this about Agu really quick though. When I was watching the show last night, the longer I looked at him, facially, the less attractive he became. I don't know. There was just something about his nose in particular that it wasn't a complete turnoff, but he's one of those people, if you start to study them, then their attraction starts to diminish, at least for me. But from the neck down, he is a 10 plus, in my opinion. Not only is he a 10 plus, there's also a scene where they're talking about what changes they would make to their body. Now, Agu is into fitness. I don't know if I talked about him already. So Agu is a friend of Larry's, and he's into fitness, and apparently they share similar birthdays, and because of that, they met at a club, and now the two of them sort of have a long-standing friendship. So Agu, when they're talking about changes that they would make to their body, in one scene he says, well, the only thing I would probably change on my body is I would make my penis smaller. Which I thought was funny, because we probably know that we all know that that's not true. But I think that it's one of those cases, you know how when you go to an interview and you turn a pot, they ask you about, you know, something that you would change or something that you feel like you can work on, and you turn a positive into a negative, or negative into a positive. I think that's kind of what he was trying to do in that situation. And I haven't seen it personally. Maybe I'll Google pictures later, but apparently he likes to be naked, so maybe there are images of it out there somewhere. So anyway, everyone's in this house. Now, Agu and Emily, the sort of milfish Kim Zolciak of the show, the token white girl of the show, they meet at the airport. So they ride to the airport together. Now, Emily steps off the plane, and immediately my eyebrow is raised, just because she's so inappropriately dressed, in my opinion. Now, I'm not one of those people who subscribes to this belief that you have to wear this here and that there, but she definitely looked, and I'm not averse to sort of body conscious clothing. I don't have a problem with that, you know. But the problem, I guess, well, first of all, let me tell you what she's wearing. She's wearing this sort of body conscious green dress that sort of has like a tulip hem. So there's a skirt underneath, and then it has it's like a layered tulip, so that you can see underneath, you can see the skirt underneath it, where the tuliping is happening. And she has on like this plunging halter. You know, the dress has like a plunging halter, and it's like emerald green. And so she's giving too much. You know, when it comes to dressing sexy, that's like rule number one. If you're showing a lot of top, you don't show a lot of bottom. If you're showing a lot of bottom, you don't show a lot of top. You have to choose one or the other. But when you show them all at the same time, you look a little hookerish. And Emily definitely looked a little hookerish. So she comes out of the airport, and maybe she changed in the bathroom, I don't know, but because she came out of the airport in this particular dress, my assumption is that this is what she flew in. So she comes out, and Agu is there to meet her. Agu is the fitness sort of narcissist who enjoys being naked. And, you know, he immediately starts sizing her up and sort of objectifying her. So even though the dress was inappropriate, you know, it looked like she could definitely benefit from a little lipo, a couple of sit-ups. Not to be critical of another woman, but I'm just being honest, you guys. And people need to understand this. A mirror is your friend. When people won't tell you the truth, a mirror will. If you're looking for unadulterated truth, look to a mirror. Unless you have body dysmorphia, a mirror is always going to tell you the truth. And I think Emily could have definitely benefited from a mirror. Because had she have worn, let's say, a halter top that had the plunging neckline and a pair of like wide leg trousers, or a pair of skinny jeans or something of that nature to sort of mute the cleavage, she would have been a-okay. Maybe even a nice blazer on top of it. But the dress, the high heels, everything, it just came across, like I said, a little prostitute-ish, in my opinion. So she and Agu, they ride to the house together, and in the ride, you know, she started talking about how attractive she finds him, and clearly he finds her attractive, and she's talking about this relationship that she has, this pre-existing relationship she has, and she doesn't want to ruin it by potentially sleeping with Agu, and she doesn't trust herself in his presence because she knows that, you know, she lacks willpower. So everyone gets into the house, and after everyone's arrived, Kamani comes in, and, you know, Kamani's over the top, you know, she's doing way too much, in my opinion, and that immediately turns Bianca off because she sees a rapport between Larry, who Bianca has a crush on, and Kamani. And why, I don't know. You know, I'm not here to quantify anyone's sexuality, but I can tell you off top, I feel like Larry is gay. I feel like Agu is gay. Not Agu, I'm sorry. I feel like Jermaine is gay. And I also feel like Malaku is gay. And I also feel like Agu could maybe be situationally gay. Like, he seems like he might be persuaded, and sort of blame it on the alcohol scenario. So Bianca's upset with Kamani because she's a little jealous of or envious of the relationship that Kamani and Larry are, the energy that they're sharing. So after that, everyone meets, and Larry decides to assign people to a room because that's the way that this house is formatted. Of course, they needed that to create drama on the show. So you have the 2 gay guys in one room. That's Jermaine and Malaku. And keep in mind, you guys, that I'm branding them gay, even though they haven't officially come out yet. And then you have Bianca and Kamani, Miss Bad and Bougie, and Miss Will Smith in another room. And then in the third room, of course, you have Agu and you have Emily, the MILF. And so after everyone is assigned their rooms, they decide to cook dinner. And Emily, you guys, is the reason why I don't do potlucks. I just don't do them. When you see the way, they all decide to create sort of this Mexican fiesta, right? And Emily's contribution to this fiesta is the guacamole, which I love. And before I talk about the guacamole, or guacamole, the reason I don't do potlucks is because, like, I'm a germaphobe. I don't want to call myself necessarily an extreme germaphobe, but I'm very finicky, and so I'm very particular about what I eat and where I eat. And so when it comes to potlucks, very often at work, I would imagine people who have dogs who are like petting their dogs and then preparing the foods and, letting their dogs lick off mixing spoons and making the cake batter, because people who love their dogs and they don't mind doggy germs. I do. I don't want your doggy germs all over my food. I know that you love your dog, and that's fine. And I know that you may kiss your dog in the mouth, and that's fine. And I know that you don't mind the cat crawling on the counter that you make sandwiches on, but I do. So because of that reason, I have an extreme aversion to eating foods that have been prepared in the homes of other people. So when you see this show happen, really quick, just one more thing about the potlucks. If you're like me, when you go to potlucks, you typically will only eat prepackaged foods, and even that is not a guarantee, but it just psychologically it makes me feel a little better. So to bring it back to Emily is preparing this guacamole, and she's like literally eating out of it as she's preparing it, and I'm thinking to myself, who does that? Hashtag inappropriate. I like you, I think you're cool, but I don't want to share DNA with you. Like, come on, like, don't do that. So everyone around is pretty much having the same thought process that I'm having, but no one's saying anything to Emily about it. So she doesn't, and we're not talking about like one, dip. She's like back and forth like 3 or 4 times where she's just making sure that her DNA is well incorporated into this recipe. I did not know that saliva was an ingredient in guacamole, but however, apparently in Emily's it is. So everyone pretty much agrees to not eat it, and so that's pretty much that scene. So the following night, everyone decides to go out to a club, because of course, in reality TV, alcohol is essential to creating drama. So everyone goes out, they're getting drunk, they're having a good time, and this is where we've finally get to see sort of the chemistry between Larry and Bianca manifest. We see them rolling all over the stage. He's cupping her bottom, and she's it's they're getting pretty frisky in this nightclub. And we also see the rapport between Agu and Kamani. begin to blossom. She has a crush on him, you can tell, but she's trying to sort of downplay the significance of her interest in him. He's an attractive guy, but being bad and bougie, you can never let on that you really like a guy. So she's really trying to downplay how much she likes him, but you can tell that she wants him just as much as he wants her. So he's like rubbing his penis against her knee. Now, if you don't want someone rubbing their penis against your knee, most of us would move or push him back, or, do something to put some space or some distance, because he's being a space invader. But she did none of that because she enjoyed it. Also, really quick, when they all got dressed to go out, excuse me, Kamani comes down, and she's wearing this really pretty green dress and some Louboutins. But the dress that she's wearing, you can see her areolas through the dress. At least that was the implication on camera, because they put blurs, it was sort of pixelated where her areolas would be. So she's wearing this green dress that really got Agu's attention. And I thought that the dress was a little inappropriate personally, but who am I to say? And you know what? That's really interesting too, because Emily's dress was emerald green and she was sort of being a thought in it. And so was Kamani. So Emily Green is like emerald green seems to be the go-to color for thottish behavior, at least in the first episode. So they're all out, and all the other stuff happened, and then Larry starts dancing with a group of random girls at the club, and of course Bianca was a little jealous about the fact that he was dancing with other girls, and so she's sort of side-eyeing him from the side, and but everyone has a good time for the most part, and they come home and they're eating pizza. Everyone falls asleep. The next morning, Bianca, who's still bothered by what happened the night before, decides that she wants to confront Larry about, sort of flirting with these other women in front of her. Now, the whole time that she's confronting him, I'm sitting here scratching my head, because I'm thinking to myself, she's talking to him about women at the club, but his t-shirt says Fine Ass Boys Club, or something to that nature, Fine Ass Boys. And I'm thinking, he's wearing a t-shirt that says Fine Ass Boys. You might want to have a different conversation with him. You don't worry about the girls. I think you're good there. So because to me, the relationship seems very manufactured between Larry and Bianca. It just doesn't come across as authentic in any way, shape, or form. So she has a conversation with him about the women. He sort of just says, he's having a good time, and she's satisfied with that answer. And then, that's pretty much it for that scene. Okay, so the final scene of the show, they all decide to go out to dinner, and Emily, who is definitely going to be the catalyst for a bunch of drama, once again, she goes into double dipping mode. And so this time people are not here for it at all. So when she starts double dipping, people start complaining about her double dipping. She gets offended by it, and for whatever reason decides that the answer to it is to start biting off her acrylic nails and spitting them on the floor of the restaurant. Now, Kamani was definitely not here for it. So Kamani starts, having this exchange with Emily about spitting her nails on the floor and how disgusting and how classless it was for her to do so. And I think that if Kamani would have just stayed at the part where she was talking about it being disgusting, I was with her 100%. But when you start talking about how classless she is, that's where I sort of the divergence happens, because you just wore a green dress with your nipples showing the other night. So how are you going to criticize her for being classless, when in my opinion, I think that most people would concede that wearing a dress out with your nipples is a little tacky. That's just me. And it wouldn't be so much tacky. It's hypocritical on one hand to sort of judge her based on your definition of class, when a lot of people would judge you based on the fact that you're showing your nipples. So anyway, there's this contentious moment. The two of them, Emily and Kamani, are going back and forth, and that's pretty much where the episode ended. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. So far, based on initial impressions, I'm not really impressed. It's only episode 1, but to be perfectly honest with you, there's really no one on the cast that I like. Malaku, who seems sort of very mundane, he's only likable because he doesn't do anything. So, he's so insipid that you don't really have an impression of him either way. Same thing for Jermaine. Malaku is sort of like, I guess he would be like the situation, if you will. For those of you who've watched Jersey Shore, he would be sort of the black situation of this group. Kamani just knows his way too far in the air for me. Emily is just too milfish for me. Bianca, to me, lacks a backbone and self-esteem so far. It's only 1 episode in, so I can't say that with 100% certainty. And Larry just seems like he wants to be important for some reason. So to me, I haven't really found any of the personalities endearing in any way, shape, or form. But I'm going to give it, I give, typically if it's a new show, I give it 3 episodes before I completely write it off. So far on episode 1, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this episode about a 5.5. We'll see what the next episode brings. Hopefully it gets better. I definitely want to see the show succeed, but I'm not going to just watch just because there's nothing else to watch. All right, you guys. Anyhow, that's it for this episode of RealiTEA. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Also, remember to follow me across all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. What else is there? Oh, as always, in closing, remember to live better, love harder, and think smarter. It's me, the Cerebral Diva, and I will talk to you guys again soon.